What's up, everybody? So today I'll be working on installing this little item here. This is called the Torque Solutions blow-off valve adapter plate. Now this is made for multiple cars, similar style, and this one here in particular is designed for the 10th gen Civics. 10th gen Civics, as you know, from factory or turbo. Now they give you this piece here, and then they also provide 3 bolts, 3 extended bolts with the kit. There you have it. This is the packaging that it comes in. You have your bolts on top, you have the adapter plate in the bottom, then of course your labeling is up here. First off, we're going to start with the plate. So it's kind of a universal piece. I've seen this piece sold for other cars and they have a similar setup, and so they all pretty much are generic, universal. Now this is a piece that I tried to install last night. However, I ran into a complication. This outer gasket here, when I went to go install it on the car, this gasket would not stay in place. It kept popping out and becoming a nuisance. However, this inner gasket stayed fine, which was cool. But this outer gasket was an issue. So that was a problem I ran into with that. The Torque Solution bolts that come with the kit, there's 3 of them for the 3 mounting bolts that are factory. They're extended in length. However, these bolts are 10 millimeter bolts. So you need a 10 millimeter in order to install these. The issue is the factory bolts on the blow-off valve are not 10 millimeter. The factory blow-off valve are actually 8 millimeters. So you'll need an 8 millimeter socket and possibly a swivel, because one of them is in a tight spot to get to. And it would be easiest if you used a very short 8 millimeter. Either you could use a ratcheting wrench, or you use a very short 8 millimeter socket with a swivel so you could get a good angle on the head and crank it and loosen it up. But these are 10 and the stock ones are 8 millimeters. In order to resolve that gasket that kept popping out, I went ahead and I bought this water pump thermostat housing gasket maker, and I took it and applied it to the groove where the ring gasket sits, so that way it doesn't pop out. So this outer groove was the one I took the gasket out, and I applied that gasket sealer. As you could see, there's traces of it. I applied it all inside of that area. Then I sat the gasket ring inside of it, and now I'm allowing it to set up and dry, so that way it'll be all locked in and good to go when I'm ready to install this in the afternoon. And I won't have problems with this ring popping out anymore. So what I did was I also went ahead and I bought some thread locker medium strength. You don't want to use the heavy duty super strong one because these are such thin bolts. If you have to apply a large amount of force and torque to the thin bolts, you'll probably break them off inside of the engine, and then you'll be stuck, and you don't want to have that happen. So a medium strength thread locker will help. These are also vacuum lines, windshield washer, vacuum tubing, SAE. Now, I'm not exactly 100% certain as to what size the factory vacuum line is that goes from the tubing to the blow-off valve itself. I know that they were very small. It was very small. And when I tried to install the blow-off valve adapter plate, it sort of stretched the stock vacuum line. It was very tense, very tight, and it was making it kind of a complication to install the whole unit together. So what I went ahead and did was I went ahead and bought this 4 millimeter, and I also bought this 2.8 millimeter vacuum line. So when I go to install this later on in the afternoon, I'll take off the factory one, see which one it closest resembles, and then I'll cut a longer length of vacuum so that way it's not so tight and complicated to reinstall the blow-off valve on the car. Okay, so there is the installation of the part. Now, using this vacuum line to extend it to connect to this fitting right here, because the factory one is too short, and it doesn't fit very well. And then it'll be done. Okay, something to note when installing this part, the rubber O-rings go that way towards the engine. The flat smooth side goes towards the valve. And then this also has to be in a certain position. There's a crescent moon opening and it's on this side and it lines up on this side with the engine. So those two parts have to match and put everything back together. New vacuum line is installed.